Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Stream of Thought podcast, where thoughts flow and ideas stick. It's your host, Jasmine. And I'm not even going to get into why it took me so long. Once again, I feel like I have said this multiple times. Clearly, I have an issue with consistency. Um, but, I'm working on it, whatever. However, in my defense, or not, maybe not my defense, more like just a little info. I am, or me and my husband we have a lot of good things, coming and that we're working on and doing individually and together. So, and then also school and working full time. So, my schedule and my life is very busy. But I really do enjoy doing these podcasts. It's a fun little thing that I like to do, to just sit on here and ramble and talk, and hopefully people like it and listen to it and relate to it. But yeah, I don't always have the time. And so that's that. As far as the good things that are coming, though, or that are in the works, I guess you could say I'm kind of like a superstitious person, because I don't like to, as they say, count my eggs before they hatch. Like, I'm not that type of person. Like, I need to have things like signed on the dotted line, like official, before I tell people about them. So in future podcasts, I will definitely bring up these good things, but it's exciting. And we're in the middle of it now. So all that is great. Um, but one thing that I really wanted to talk about today was something that, honestly, I didn't put that much, I didn't have that much interest in until recently. But I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. My master's degree is in forensic psychology, and my PhD will be in um, general psychology, which I've mentioned before. But um, so I'm really into true crime. Like, I am subscribed to well, not all, like a lot of true crime podcasts, and I listen every week because I always want to know, like, I guess why people do what they do, like, and also like what's going on in the world. You should be connected with what's going on in the world that could possibly affect you, because you don't want to be like, you don't want it to be all consuming. Like, I wouldn't say that, but also you need to be informed, because you don't want to be that person that's like, everybody else knows what happened in the world and you had no idea that this even happened because you never ever watched the news. So I don't want to genuinely be that person. I want to be informed so that I can make smart choices and keep myself safe, keep my family safe. Yeah, so anyway, I like to watch true crime documentaries, and I like to listen to true crime podcasts, because I just want to understand the mindset and understand, like, hey, there are some crazy people in this world. So with that being said, one of my favorites is definitely Crime Junkies. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Yeah, Crime Junkies. Um, Ashley Flowers and Britt, and they're like best friends, and they always talk about true crime. And some are unsolved and some are solved, and the solved ones make me feel like, okay, that's good. Justice was served in most cases. That's great. The unsolved ones, that they always like eat at you, and you wonder, like, dang, like, will they ever find out who did this to this person? And that's sad, and me, not even, I'm just an outsider looking in, but imagine how that person's family feels. So um those ones I like to listen to, because I don't know, I think I'm a detective or something, but I'm like, maybe they missed something. Let me see what I can figure out that they for sure missed. But and I think that is the whole point of the Crime Junkies podcast, specifically because they call them the fan club, and people can call in with any information that they have, or call the police department. They leave the number, the contact information. Like, this is not just a podcast. This is for people to reach out if they have information on something, because you could help solve a crime. Um, so I think that's pretty cool. Another one that I like is, I think her name is Bailey Sarian. So she doesn't really talk, and I think it's called Murder Mystery Makeup. So she doesn't really talk about like current crimes that are going on. Like she talks about crimes that happened like in the past for sure. And and I could be wrong, but a lot of them are solved, which is good. But yeah, and I like to watch her because she does her makeup at the same time. Um Side note, this is so unrelated, but speaking of makeup, I'm not like a huge makeup wearer, but I do feel like red lips are my go-to, and I feel like that would be my tip to like any girl that wants to wear lipstick. Like, you find your color, girl, because not every color looks good on every skin tone, or makes you feel good about yourself. But I feel like red is sexy on me, at least, and I like red a lot. I also like mauve, but red, nothing beats red. And so yeah, that was a little side note. But anyway, back to the podcast. Yeah, so Murder Mystery Makeup, those are my top two favorites. Um, but it got me to thinking, like, I haven't seen, and maybe they exist. Maybe I didn't need to do more research, or maybe anyone who's listening can just, let me know. Hit me up and let me know, and I will definitely check out this podcast if it exists, or YouTube. Um, I don't see too many or any at all that talk about um, crimes that happen to Black people. Now, you can have an episode or whatever, or during Black History Month, the shortest month of the year, but we don't have to get into that. You have talk about, Black crimes, that whole month, which is cool. That's cool. But I mean, like, there are so many unsolved crimes in the Black community in general that don't get any media attention. And so I feel like it would be so cool to listen to a podcast that focuses on that. Not saying that anybody of any other color, like, if you were murdered, that's awful, and none of that should ever be minimized. But I'm just saying, it would be cool. It would be cool to see that. So if you guys know any, just let me know and I'll listen to it. I will support it any way that I can. So yeah, I say all that to say there was a case that I honestly, and I think it's been going on for like 2-3 years, but I was seeing it like nonstop. I was seeing it, and I was like skipping over it. Like, it was, I don't know why it didn't really pique my interest, or maybe I was just too, see, I don't want to say that. I feel like that sounds a little harsh, like, because people were killed. So I would say I maybe I just didn't make the time or have the time to delve into the research, because I feel like that what I did see was so vague. And this is the case of the Idaho Four, so the college students that were killed by Brian Kohlberg, I think that was his name. So I would see this guy's mugshot or photo in the court, and I would think, okay, and it would say, like, he killed the Idaho Four, and I was like, okay, so it was college students that he killed. Like, this guy doesn't look like a college student. Like, I don't really know. It wasn't a lot of information. I feel like I had to do a lot more research, and I wasn't, and I was focused on other things. But so it really piqued my interest just this past week, because I was listening to the Crime Junkie podcast, and they had an episode about this case. And I was like, oh, so this will be the first time that I actually figure out what this is even about, and what happened. So I'm not going to obviously go into every detail of the case. It was gruesome. Those kids, well, young adults, were killed, and that was terrible because they had so much life left to live. That was awful. And if you want to know all the details, obviously you can look it up or listen to the Crime Junkie podcast. So yeah, but there were a couple things that they said that really stood out to me, other than how gruesome the crime was. And it was the fact that the death penalty was on the table for him, and just recently, like a few days ago or maybe a week ago or something, but very recently, the guy decided to plead guilty, and so that the death penalty would be off of the table, and so it's life in prison. And as a criminal justice student, as an undergrad, and as a forensic psychology graduate, grad student, and then a general psychology PhD student, I have written many papers on the death penalty and how I feel, my opinion on it, and what's good about it, what's bad about it, whatever. And I was always a firm believer that the death penalty was not the best option, that the death penalty was not something that should be given to these people, because I don't know, for lack of better words, it seemed like the easy way out, because these people would just not have to deal with the problems of this world. They would not have to face their consequences, really, because they wouldn't be here anymore. They wouldn't have to deal with judgment or anything like that. So I had a firm opinion, and I'm saying this as someone who, thank God, has never been in the situation where I had to face that, or somebody that I know had to face that, or someone that did something to someone that I know had to face that. Because I feel like I firmly believe as well that until it happens to you, you don't really know. So that's my opinion as someone who has never been in that situation, or in those situations. But looking at it from or trying to look at it from the perspective of some of the parents, because the Crime Junkie podcast was saying, like, some of the parents of the victims or families of the victims were split on whether they felt like the death penalty was necessary or not. Um, some people believe, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Like, you killed them, so then you should die. And other people are like, life imprisonment, like my opinion was, would be the better option. So, and then another thing they brought up was that the defendant, the guy, was adamant about them taking the death penalty off the table because he didn't want to die. And they brought up how ironic that was. And I was like, that is super ironic, because you just killed all of these people and you want to save your life. You think your life is worth saving when you did these terrible things. I mean, they died terribly. So that just shows how selfish, people can be. You were only thinking about you. And which goes to, understanding the criminal mind and understanding psychology, understanding how the brain works. Like, that's not a normal, obviously it's not normal to kill. It's not normal to think that way, to be so selfish and disregarding of other people's lives, of a crime that you committed. Another thing that about that case is that now that he took that plea, and he will get life imprisonment, I believe, for all four murders that he committed. He doesn't have to go to trial or anything like that, obviously. And so the families in the world, anybody who's been watching, following this case, will not know why he did it, because that was the biggest question. That was something that nobody could figure out. Well, why? Like, you didn't know these, well, as far as the people knew, you didn't know these victims. It's not like you lived in the house with them. So, like, what? And were was only one of them your target and the other ones got in the way? Like, were you just mad and you just went on a rampage? Like, were you targeting that house specifically? Like, why were you going up and down that road and turning around and looking at that house? I'm like, what was, like, why? Why? And I genuinely feel like that is so sad that now we may never know. Unless that man, when they go to his sentencing and he says he wants to tell the world why, we will never know why. And those people are gone for a reason that no one could ever explain except for him. And maybe he can't even explain it. Maybe he doesn't even know. Um, so that to me, and I don't know why it took me so long to look into that case. Like I said, maybe I just had too much other stuff going on, but I remember seeing glimpses of it and just like not getting deep into it until this very week when they started talking about it on the Crime Junkies podcast. But it's really interesting. It's really intriguing to see, like, and just to wonder, like, it just really makes you wonder, like, why people are the way they are. And it makes me also proud that I'm getting my PhD, because that's the whole point. I'm trying to figure out stuff. I'm trying to understand why you behave the way you behave, because maybe there was something in your past that contributed to why you behave the way you behave now. And if that behavior was nipped in the bud early, maybe you wouldn't be like that. Maybe, you would have had a better turnout. So, one last thing about that case was that, and this is not funny. This is not funny, but it's ironic. He was a PhD student. He had his master's in forensic psychology, which I also have my master's in forensic psychology. But he studies serial killers, which honestly we all do. We all have to study serial killers, like the most prolific killers, and because you need to understand the criminal mind and criminal behavior, not to go commit crimes though. You want to understand the behavior so that you can help further research on them and impact. But he definitely, obviously, went to the part where he wanted to be like the serial killer. I think he had some admiration for serial killers, because after he got his forensic psychology degree and he went on to do his PhD, he was doing, I guess it was part of his research for his dissertation. He was doing or conducting a study asking people about the crimes that they committed, and asking them specific questions like, how did you do it? And it was like eerie, like, questions. What steps did you take? Were you caught? And like, it was almost like he was doing a survey and asking them questions, but he was getting instructions on how to do it himself. That's what he was doing. He was gathering information so that he could do it himself. And now, I'm not from Idaho or nothing like that. I'm in Virginia, and my PhD program is in Virginia. But I just can't really imagine that passing the dissertation committee, like, and being approved by the dissertation committee to do a survey like that. So, but hey, I don't know. Clearly, it worked. It was working for him, and nobody questioned it at the time. But with all that being said, like he studied serial killers. He learned how to profile. He learned all that stuff that's literally in the program. So if you know all of that, I'm not saying you, because they said, oh, it was almost a perfect crime except for him leaving the knife sheath. So literally, was it intentional? What were you thinking? What were you doing? Someone who knows that much, you slipped up a lot. You did a major slip up, and that's how they caught you. I'm glad that they caught you because you do not need to be out here in the streets with the rest of us. You definitely need to be exactly where you are. You deserve to get whatever you get. Um, but yeah, that case really just had my mind spinning this week, and I think that it kept coming back to me, and I kept, you know, uh, going to other things. But I think the fact that it kept coming back and coming back and coming back, that's because I needed to look at it. I needed to listen to it. And the Crime Junkie podcast was the reason that or the way that I was supposed to look at it. And so yeah, it's something that I definitely will remember, and that I have a lot of questions about, and that is really sad, and that that we may never know the why too. So yeah, um, that was the topic I really wanted to talk about today. True crime, true crime. I could talk about that forever, but I feel like this video is actually one of my longer ones. So once again, I'm proud of myself because these videos sometimes be like 10 minutes, and I'm like, I ran out of things to talk about. But like I said, I could talk about true crime all day. So yeah, I will be doing another episode. Okay, I'll be doing another episode, and I hope you guys tune in for it. But thank you all for listening to this one. And yeah, this video will be available on the Stream of Thought podcast YouTube channel, and the audio is wherever you get your podcast. So thanks. Bye.